That's it, boys. That's it. Just slow this down nicely. Got a nice comfy lead here. Just everyone keep it until the final. No injuries out there. Adam, please get up. Adam. Oh, for the love of God, I always get an injury before we play Auckland City in a final. Why? Why footballing gods? Why?
Party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 55 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical. And coming up today, it is the National League Championship Grand Final for our second season at the club, as yet again we take on Auckland City. Also before then, a bit of a recap of the most recent international window we did have with the All Whites, and also we'll get stuck into stuff like the end of season review as well as transfer budgets for next season. So if you're looking forward to a grand final coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday played a couple of games late on in the league phase of the National League Championship, so if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Got through the grand final with a game to spare in the league, so thankfully we were able to rest our players who were on yellow cards going in to this upcoming final, which yet again is against Auckland City at a neutral venue in Sky Stadium. But before you have a look at that and switch over to Cashmere Technical mode, first up today, going to have a look at the most recent international window, as I said, with the All Whites, and it started off very well as first up we took on, at that stage, ranked 55th in the world, Burkina Faso. And we were surprisingly dominant in this game, even after Marco Stamenik picked up a serious injury at the 20-minute mark. Just after that, Kelly there puts the ball far post and Josh Pickering heads that one home. He picks up yet another international goal, does the Chicago Fireman these days. Then Michael Cornelius Beale, who of course came on for Stamenik, sets up George McDonald EIEI goal to make it 2-0. That was the half-time score. And then late on, with about 20 minutes left, really put this game to bed, which is good. Joe Bell coming off the bench. He gets a bit of help there from the arm of the goalkeeper and puts that one away. And a few minutes later, he will pick up an assist. We go there far post. Sloan Rodriguez just takes a couple of touches as the goalkeeper came out to punch that one clear. Rockets at top right corner. And a very convincing 4-0 win, considering, as I said, where Burkina Faso were ranked going into that window these days, a lot lower, down in 72nd. So I've definitely sunk off the back of that window that has just gone, but a really good result for us there, beating them 4-0. And off the back of that, we then took on the UAE, actually ranked slightly lower. But unfortunately, this one didn't quite go to plan. The first goal actually early on in this highlight, a big foul down the other end, it looked like, on Pickering, which wasn't picked up. They then go down the other end, and Jesus opens the scoring. Thankfully, only a few minutes later, did feel like FM was doing a bit of justice here as Nico Kua makes his way down the right-hand side, and yet again, Josh Pickering will pick up a goal through a header, so that made it 1-0 early. But unfortunately, only a few minutes later, in fact, right from the restart, Jesus to Al Yassi, and then Krupski will put that one past Paulson into the bottom left corner, and straight away UAE get their 2-1 lead back. And they actually went to half-time with a 3-1 lead. Yuri here down the left-hand side somehow gets that one beyond Bindon. Paulson with a good save, but it falls to Krupski, and he picks up a double in the first half to make it 3-1. We got to go back here with 10 minutes left in the half, which I thought might get us back into this game. Ben Wayne with a goal off of the bench, but unfortunately, straight from the restart yet again, and the UAE, they did grab a cushion goal. Harib here, bit of a deflection from that ball in, and Agadello does put that one away, and we suffer there a pretty frustrating 4-2 defeat, especially considering the stats from that game. Not really too sure how we've conceded 4 goals, and we actually performed under our XG as well, so that was a really frustrating result off the back of that previous one against Burkina Faso. UAE these days, big jump off the back of that window up to 60th, so a bit of a switch there almost between the rankings of those two teams that we did just take on. But a win or loss, it does mean in terms of us here at New Zealand, we are equal 66 these days in the world rankings. Also that youth rating with the new skin, I can see that now. I imagine that might have had a boost off the back of the start of the save. I think New Zealand start off with a 2-star youth rating, don't hold me to that, but I think that maybe the fact that we've gone up the rankings quite considerably so far in this save has improved that. But unfortunately, a few mixed results from that most recent international window Felt like we could have gone up those rankings a bit further, but still not in a bad spot. And equal 66th, I think there's only one more window before we get stuck in to the FIFA World Cup 2030, halfway through next season for us here at Cashmere Technical, considering we're now at a club that plays throughout the course of a calendar season instead of the traditional season that you have up in Europe. But it's time to switch our attention now to Cashmere Technical. We did pick up those wins yesterday against Manurewa and Auckland City. That was a game that we actually showed you the highlights of, a 4-1 win there. So hopefully we can beat them again in this grand final, albeit last season they were the team that did beat us, handed us our only defeat, and it was in this very game. You can see going into this grand final, Auckland City are actually the home team technically for this one. They finished 1 point above us, unfortunately, despite the fact that they lost that game. Those 2 draws that we did get against both Western Suburbs and the Phoenix Reserves do mean we finished second, albeit very comfortably. Definitely the 2 best teams in New Zealand playing this National League Grand Final, and we picked up a 4-1 win over the Dunedin City Royals in our sole game before this final off the back of that international break. As I said, did put out a pretty heavily rotated team for this game just to make sure that any players on yellow cards would not be suspended. Pretty comfortable win their goals there to Lapane, a double to Paquette, and also Shusha. Unfortunately though, we started Adam White because he didn't actually play for the All Whites too much in that most recent international window, so I thought he could use the game time. I should have taken him off at halftime. He picked up an injury. It was a hamstring strain. He is gone for the final. So yet again, we are missing a first choice player for a final here against Auckland City. It happened last season with Bigigio with a suspension. I didn't realise it was going to kick in from the previous game. This time a proper injury, so Adam White will be missing for this National League Grand Final, but thankfully that is the only injury or suspension concern we do have going into this one. And Auckland City, we have beat them most times in the save, but those red dots do come from the National League Grand Final last season and also the OFC Champions League Final that we played early this season, where they did beat us on penalties. So definitely looking for some revenge on these guys, even though we have beat them in the Charity Cup Final and the Chatham Cup Final this season, looking to make it 4 trophies here at Cashmere Tech this season and just keep Auckland City to the Northern League alongside that OFC Champions League. They're a pretty good team, Auckland City, but based on the season preview, we should be a heck of a lot stronger than them. Hopefully, we can prove it at a neutral venue. Thankfully, finishing second in the league won't hurt us too much for this grand final. We'll come back shortly and get stuck into the action and hopefully pick up our first National League Championship here at Cashmere Technical. And here are the team sheets for this season's National League Grand Final here from Sky Stadium in Wellington. There are Auckland City still going with the 4-2-3-1, which has worked fairly well for them this season, it's fair to say. They've picked up a few wins over us since they did switch that tactic last season. There we are, just one change to our usual best 11 with that injury to Adam White. Jose Pedro comes back in at left back, but apart from that, at full strength, and hopefully can pick up this National League for the first time. And just shot the 15-minute mark, first highlight in this game is a throw-in in our favour. To be fair, so far Auckland City stats-wise have been on the front foot in this game, which is a bit concerning because so far in this save we have really bottled things in finals. Poor pass there, and Ebbing does get in behind for Auckland City, chips that one over Josh Hawkins, who had to come out. That's a really bad goal to concede, and Auckland City take a 1-0 lead early. And they won this final by the scoreline last season at Tsukamoto with the poor pass backwards, which Stike Ukuk can get on the end of, and then Willem Ebbing just chips this one into the back of the net. It's a good finish, but poor giveaway there from Aiki Tsukamoto, and Auckland City take a 1-0 lead. And it looks like that'll be the only highlight of the first half. It's been a really quiet grand final, this one so far. Just that one highlight, the poor pass from Tsukamoto, and Auckland City through Ukic and through Ebbing did make the most of it. They go into halftime with 1-0 lead, and to be fair, we've been up to very little. Not much happened from either team off the back of that opening goal. Just checking on player rating, Stephen Lopez on a poor one. So Michael James Gilbert will come off the bench. That'll be our first sub here going in to the second half, and we'll tell the guys really need to play better than that. Otherwise, going to bottle yet another final as we're 1-0 behind at halftime. And just about to make our way up to the hour mark in this game. It's been a really quiet one so far, and still we're not up to much at all. A couple of players out there on 6.5s, so we'll take them off. Lorenzo Janssen, he can come off for Gil. Hopefully that might just give us a bit of extra quality in the front half of the field. And also Cullen Elliott on a 6.5. So we'll try Julian Pike to be fair to him. He's been pretty decent for us so far this season. That'll be all our subs used with a half hour left. Still 1-0 down. And we're just about to make our way now into the last 20 minutes of this game. Those subs so far haven't done anything at all. So I now think it's time for us here to try and get on the front foot a bit earlier than usual and go full out attack just to make sure that hopefully this might be enough time for us to grab a goal or two and make sure at the very least this one does go to extra time. So a few more positive player roles. Also going to go a bit wider, up the tempo, and also play with a higher defensive line. And hopefully that will help us at the very least grab an equaliser in these last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And as if things could not get any worse so far in this game now, Gil-Piquet's gone off with a red injury. So the fact that we've used all our subs might not have been the best idea. We're down to 10 men, chasing an equaliser with only 13 minutes left. And this one can't do anything, already gone full attack. I do think we need to keep that up. But now about to make our way into the last 5 or so minutes of this game. And it might be time for us here to even go a bit higher in terms of our tempo and also maybe chuck the centre backs on to liberos. It has worked in the past, I believe, with the All Whites instead of this team, but we'll see if anything does happen. Is now Auckland City, they have a corner off the back of those changes that we made, albeit it does get cut off, but unfortunately does look like this game won't last too long. Just the one highlight we've seen so far, we have a poor giveaway there through Sukamoto, and Auckland City do make the most of it, albeit as we start to make our way into 3 minutes of added time. Michael James Gilbert makes his way into the opposition box. It goes back to Pike Victoros with a first time finish, the libero. What a roll that is. And Georgios Victoros, we only bought him here really so he could become a New Zealand citizen, which these days he is. He isn't actually available to be selected for the All Whites, but off the back of that, going to go back to our usual style here at Cashmere Technical, just a little bit more, at least in terms of the player roles with our defence anyway. That is a big goal from the Cyprus/New Zealand centre-back, one of our signings early doors back at AFC Auckland. And thankfully, we do grab a goal with only 10 men as well. That is a big moment. Victoros, Connor Tracy gets a touch on that one, but a powerful finish there from our centre-back to make it 1-1. We'll see if anything else happens here as we're about to make our way into extra time. Thankfully, we've finally scored a goal in a National League Grand Final that will make it 1-1, and now we can actually bring someone on to play as an 11th player. So that's a big goal for us now. We can go back to a full complement. Lapane can come on as an extra midfielder, albeit he's not an attacking midfielder, so we might actually try here a 4-3-3 for extra time in this one. To be fair, when you look at the season preview, that's what it does look like on the Dream 11, a 4-3-3 instead of a 4-2-3-1. So Sukamoto, defensive midfielder on defend, will play one of Dirty Ray Dom or Lapane as an attacking playmaker. We'll just see who that might suit better. And actually, looks like Dirty Ray Dom might be better suited to that advanced playmaker. So a couple of changes here to what we usually do as we go into extra time because of that injury to Gil-Piquet. So we'll just make sure here that we're well set up. Back to 11 men for extra time. Also, just tone that tempo down a little bit to only being slightly higher. But hopefully we've grabbed the momentum now and are back to 11 men so can take out this grand final in extra time. And making our way now through this first half of extra time, just about to hit the 100-minute mark in this game. Does feel like now we're on the front foot just a little bit, at least in terms of stats. That's changed off the back of the first half of this game, but now 102 minutes in. Did think there we'd be looking for Victoros from that corner. He's usually the biggest threat. Has already had a big impact on this game though with that late goal in regular time, but thankfully still on the attack. And there is Victoros just inside the box. Pike there looking for Keat. Did look like he got taken out from behind there, but the referee, no foul. Thankfully, Auckland City clear it, and we are still on the ball. Jose Pedro up to Dirty Ray Dom. We'll see what he can do in a 4-3-3. Lovely ball forward there from Shusha for Michael James Gilbert. He's onside, beats Connor Tracy. That makes it 2-1. And now we might even start to time waste a little bit here just to make sure that hopefully Auckland City don't grab a goal back. We didn't do this late in the Champions League. That was mainly because I was worried about Mark Anderson and goal in that game. But now going back to a lower tempo, we'll drop back to a standard defensive line as well. And hopefully that might help us just hold on as well as do a little bit of time wasting, and also will be more disciplined. So hopefully, actually going to hold on here and pick up a win over Auckland City in a proper big final. With all due respect to the Chatham Cup, I do think these trophies in the National League Championship and also the OFC Champions League mean a little bit more to the club. But good goal there to Gilbert. Duty Ray on for to Shusha, and he's just onside there on the right side of his defender and puts that one away with a nice first time finish. I think that was with his left foot. Drop back to positive mentality as well. We're 2-1 up at half time in extra time. And now it's time for us to get stuck into the second half of extra time. Just check there on some players at half time, but of course, no subs left because we put on our 11th men going into this period of extra time after that injury to Gil Paquette. But so far, no highlights at all as we start to make our way towards injury time in this National League Grand Final extra time of it. There is a late highlight of throw-in as we hit 2 minutes of added time. Hopefully, we can just keep hold of the ball and make sure Auckland City don't get a late chance to pinch this one. As I say that, poor pass there from Jose Pedro, but thankfully actually does quite well to win that ball back for us. We're a bit further back than I'd like us to be, especially off the back of that throw-in, which we did have, but thankfully are keeping hold of the ball with only 1 minute left in this grand final. Hopefully not going to stuff things up. So this one does go to penalties. To be fair, Auckland City putting some decent pressure on us, but it does mean that Shusha has been allowed to get in behind. Plays that back to Jose Pedro, Lepane, Tsukamoto, Justin Keat out to Pike in a bit of space down that right-hand side. Tries to square that one for Justin Keat. Good chance, but Connor Tracy comes up with a big save. A shot there from someone. Gilbert actually blocks it, but thankfully we are still keeping hold of position with now only 10 seconds left in this grand final. Hopefully nothing else to scare us here on this one. We keep hold of the ball. Julian Pike makes his way down that right-hand side, does lose out there to an Auckland City player, but thankfully, even though it's taken extra time, we have finally picked up the National League Grand Final here at Cashmere Technical. After being handed our first defeat of the season in this game last year, this time around we go through the season domestically unbeaten because, of course, OFC Champions League final don't count domestically, but thankfully got some revenge now on Auckland City with a proper big trophy. We pick up the National League with a 2-1 win after extra time at Sky Stadium. So we just managed to get the job done there in the National League Championship Grand Final, the first time I've picked up that trophy in 2 seasons here at Cashmere Technical, as I said, after being a little bit harshly done by in the final last season by Auckland City. Thankfully, bounced back from that early mistake made by Tsukamoto, which allowed Ebbing to score that goal. Vic Dross when we're down to 10 men with a massive late goal, and then Michael James Gilbert late in the first half of extra time. That was the key moment as we pick up a 2-1 win. We complete the quadruple, so that is the Charity Cup, the Chatham Cup, the Southern League, and the National League. Just one trophy missing. Unfortunately, that was the OFC Champions League, where Auckland City did beat us. Hopefully, we'll change that come the start of next season. Can pick up the Champions League for the first time here at Cashmere Technical. Apparently, we're not as good as we think we are. To be fair, probably should be winning a bit more comfortably considering the team we've got here currently. Maybe need to consider a change of tactic, because we certainly should have the best team in this league, but for some reason are just dropping a few more points than I'd like to with this Cashmere Tech team, but thankfully just did enough there to beat Auckland City in the final. Hopefully can do the same in the OFC Champions League next season. Gil Paquette's out for 3 weeks. That's not too bad. He'll be fine for the start of next season. We get £300,000, which hopefully will sort out the finances, which aren't that great, especially considering the balance was around £2 million when we first got here at the start of last season. But thankfully, we are picking up all the trophies, so I don't think they can complain too much, especially when we're working within the wage budget. And just going back to see what the board and whatnot think of that, they're all happy that for the first time here, we have picked up the National League, at least in terms of us being at the club. Of course, Cashmere Tech did pick it up back in 2024-25, but thankfully we cap off an unbeaten domestic season with a win in that National League Grand Final. Albeit some pretty mixed news off the back of that. We come back to the transfer budget and also the fact that we've been offered a new 3-year contract here at Cashmere Technical, which is good news. Apart from the fact we're dropping down from being a professional club back to being a semi-professional club. That is because the club's finances just not good enough apparently. So they've been professional for about 2 years here at Cashmere Technical, just before we actually took the job here. Now they're going back to semi-pro, which does mean that might make getting good players here for the Builder Nation side of this challenge a bit tougher. So I'm not really too sure what more I could have done here, apart from the fact the finances are in the mud. We've lost about £3 million since I've come here, but it's not entirely my fault. Those are the budgets that the board have given me. We've been working within them, but we are now going semi-professional, so that's a bit of a bummer. In terms of transfer budgets for next season, I say a bit of a bummer, it's a massive bummer. That might impact our ability to keep players who are currently in the Whites, like Justin Keat and Adam White, once their contracts do expire. In terms of the budgets, though, for next season, £398,000, which is still a pretty big budget for a semi-pro club soon to be, and also the wage, 45.5k a week, which is around about where it currently is anyway. But we're going semi-professional off the back of winning the National League Grand Final, and that means that Auckland City can train more than we can, because that means all their training now will go down to about 2 to 3 days a week. So that certainly could impact us in the future of the save. Maybe not going to be quite as easy as I was hoping it would be, despite the fact we've got a really strong squad, because we're going part-time. And off the back of that very surprising news that we are going semi-pro, I've made our way forward here to the 1st of January 2030, and still no end of season review, so I'm not actually too sure when that's going to take place. So because of that, I do think this is actually the point we're going to end things for today's episode. Don't want to sit there too long off camera and keep clicking forward before I do have a look at some potential transfers going into next season, albeit I think this time I'm going to wait for most of them until midway through the season, when players do get released from A-League and also European clubs. But whether we can actually attract those players now that we're semi-pro, that remains to be seen. And also, before I forget, we did actually get a youth intake going in to today's episode. Not very good again, and honestly, it's another absolutely rubbish one. Ching Sun is the best one. He's got 2.5 star potential. That's probably not quite good enough for us even then. So another youth intake where we're probably not going to sign anyone. And now that we're going semi-pro, not too sure if we're going to have the money to actually improve our youth facilities like I was hoping we would. We could give those players some real faces. I'll sort that out before the next episode that we do come back for. But to be fair, don't think we're signing any of these guys anyway. So don't think that will be too much of an issue. But that will do it for today's episode. Thankfully, pick up the National League Championship Grand Final for the first time with that win over Auckland City, even though we left it late. But then got told we're going semi-pro for next season, which is not very good news at all. If you enjoyed this episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow and probably get through the group phase of the OFC Champions League that kicks off in February. So hopefully this time we might get drawn in Group C or D, so we actually get a bit of a pre-season before then. But hopefully if we can keep the squad together and they don't get upset that we're turning semi-pro, should be a bit more cruisy than it was last season. And we did make a lot of transfers going into that OFC Champions League. But until tomorrow, we will get stuck into the group phase of that competition. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.